Prince's hidden affair, love knows no age, royal shock. In the marble halls of ancient rule, a prince walked alone with a restless soul, crown on his head yet fire in his chest. Born into gold but denied his best, he learned early the language of duty, the silence of smiles, the weight of beauty. Eyes trained forward, heart locked tight, dreams forbidden by royal right. Then one evening beneath quiet stars, he met her beyond the palace bars. Her hair carried stories time had spun. Her gaze was calm like the setting sun. She was older, wise, and deeply real. Not a fantasy, but something to feel. In her voice lived truth and pain. In her hands the warmth of rain. They spoke of life, of loss, of fear, of roads behind and paths unclear. He found in her a mirror bright that showed his wrong and named his right. Love did not ask his age or throne. It came uninvited, fully grown. It crossed the lines of custom and rule. It laughed at whispers, called him a fool. Behind closed doors in shadowed air, their hearts confessed a hidden affair, not built on pride or youthful flame, but shared respect with no shame. Yet walls have ears and crowns have eyes. Truth travels fast where power lies. The court began to sense the change. A softer walk, a gaze strange. Royal blood was meant to bind him to alliances cold and timed. But love had already written its claim on his breath, on his name. When the truth broke like morning light, the palace shook in silent fright. Voices rose in judgment loud. An older woman was not allowed. They called it scandal, they called it wrong. They said his heart had been led along, but none could see what he had found. A love both gentle, fierce, and sound. He stood before his furious kin, a prince in silk with a heart in sin, or so they said with eyes of stone, but never had he felt more known. He chose not crown nor easy grace, but the truth alive in her face. For love knows no age, no royal law. It bows to none, it fears no flaw. Let history write what it may dare. A prince once loved beyond repair, and in that love, though judged and tried, he found himself and stood with pride. Night fell heavier after the truth was known. The palace felt colder than carved stone. Whispers crawled through every hall, like shadows climbing ancient wall. The prince no longer walked with ease. Each step echoed with unease. Servants bowed yet turned away. Eyes spoke what mouths could not say. She waited far from royal light, in quiet rooms that knew her fight. Her love was calm yet deeply torn, for she had lived and had been worn. She knew the cost of loving him, a boy king bound by fate and limb. She never asked him for a crown, only that his heart stay sound. But power does not forgive the brave. It only seeks the hearts to save. The council gathered robed in white, to judge his love, to claim their right. They spoke of blood, of age, of shame, of future heirs and royal name. They painted love as dark and wild, called him foolish, called her vile. The prince listened with burning chest, each word a blade against his rest. Yet in that pain his truth grew clear. He would not live ruled by fear. He remembered her quiet smile, the way she listened without guile, how she never bent his soul, but made him finally feel whole. They gave him choices wrapped in gold. Marry young, do as told. Forget the woman, forget her touch. Forget the love that meant too much. Or lose the crown, the guard, the name. Be written off as royal flame, a chapter cut, a lesson taught. A rebel prince easily forgot. The hall fell silent, waiting breath, as if he stood before his death. He looked around at faces cold, at lives rehearsed and neatly sold. Then he spoke, not loud, not proud, but steady, clear, no need for crowd. He said, "A crown is not my soul, nor is a throne my final goal. I was born into a gilded cage, taught to smile, taught to age. But love came real and love came true, and love had nothing false to do. She did not see a prince or power. She saw the man, the fragile flower. She held my doubts, my fear, my pain. She taught my heart to feel again. If this is wrong, then let it be. I choose my heart, I choose to see. For what is rule without the heart? A frozen play, a hollow art. Gasps rose soft yet sharp like glass. History paused to let it pass. The elders stared, some filled with rage, some with envy locked by age. That night he left the palace gate. No trumpet marked his chosen fate, no crown upon his restless head. Only truth in steps he led. She saw him come through quiet rain, his eyes alive yet full of pain. She knew before a word was said the price he paid, the life he shed. She touched his face with trembling hand, not sure she could yet understand. He knelt before her, not a king, but just a man with everything. They cried not loud but deep and slow, for loss and love both tend to grow. In each other's arms they stayed, not rescued yet, not afraid. The world outside would never cease to judge, to curse, to deny peace. Yet in that room so small and bare lived a love beyond compare. No crown could give what love had shown. No throne could heal what hearts had known. Age faded, power turned to dust. But truth remained, and truth was trust. So let them write of scandal loud, of royal fall, of broken vow. Some stories never beg for grace. They simply burn and leave a trace. And years from then, when songs are sung of kings who ruled when they were young, one tale will live though torn apart, of a prince who chose his heart. Time moved on without apology. Days blurred into quiet memory. The world forgot his royal face, but never erased his inner grace. They lived away from silk and stone, in a life entirely their own, a small house near wandering trees, where mornings spoke in simple ease. The prince learned how to earn his bread, with open hands and bowed head. No guards, no titles, no demand, just honest work and time to stand. She watched him grow not into king, but into something deeper than crown and ring. A man who listened, who learned to wait, who understood both love and fate. Yet peace is fragile when built on fire, and love can ache, though hearts aspire. At night she woke with quiet fear of stolen youth, of passing year. She saw her age upon his skin, reflected in the world outside within, not from his words nor from his eyes, but from the mirrors of passing time. She loved him more than life could hold. That was the truth, both soft and bold. And love sometimes must choose the wound to save the other from its doom. One dawn, when light was thin and pale, she walked alone beyond the trail. Her heart decided what lips could not, a future that he must be taught. She wrote no letter, left no sign, only silence sharp and fine. She left before the world awoke, before his heart in fear would choke. He returned at dusk with tired hands, calling her name through empty lands. The house replied with hollow air. No warmth, no breath, no presence there. Days shattered into broken thought. He searched the roads that led to naught. Ask the winds, the trees, the sky, but love gives answers none deny. He aged within a single year, hair dimmed by grief, by constant tear. Not from loss of royal name, but loss of love that bore no blame. She lived afar near silent seas, where waves spoke ancient elegies. Her body weak, her spirit worn, yet love for him stayed deeply sworn. She followed news from distant lands of a former prince who helped with hands, who built small schools, who healed with care, who fed the lost, who chose to share. Pride warmed her failing breath. Even as she neared her death, she knew she chose the crueler road, to free his heart from time-heavy load. When sickness claimed her fragile frame, she spoke his name again and again, not in regret nor bitter tone, but love fulfilled and fully known. The day she passed, the sky turned gray, as if the world had lost its way, and far away he felt the ache, a quiet break, a sudden shake. That night he dreamed of her soft smile, the way she held his face a while. She said no words, yet all was clear. Love does not end, it only shifts here. He never loved another soul, not from oath, but from being whole. Some loves arrive once then stay, even when the world pulls them away. Years later, old yet standing tall, he returned near the palace wall, not seeking crown nor ancient claim, but to close a circle without name. He stood where once he walked alone, a restless boy with borrowed throne, now just a man with silver hair, and eyes that held a lifetime prayer. History would never tell it right. It loves its heroes clean and bright, but truth lives quiet, deep, and plain. In choices carved through joy and pain, love knew no age, no crown, no rule. It made a prince, then broke the tool, to shape a man both kind and free, beyond what power lets us see. And if one asks what love can do, it can ruin and save you too. It can steal a throne, a name, a life, and still be worth the endless strife. For once a prince loved brave and true, and in that love became anew. Years softened his face, but not his heart. Time passed, yet never pulled them apart. He lived among people quiet and plain, carrying love like a gentle pain. He spoke to her in silent prayer, not asking why she left him there, only thanking fate soft and slow, for a love the world would never know. Age bent his back, yet cleared his sight. He understood her final right. She chose the road of silent loss, to spare his soul to pay the cost. Love is not always meant to stay. Sometimes it walks the harder way. Not every bond is meant to last. Some live eternal once they pass. One winter morning, calm and still, he felt a peace beyond all will. His breath grew light, his body weak, yet no fear touched his cheek. Villagers gathered, sensing the close of a man who carried unseen prose. They held his hand, they spoke his name, but his heart burned another flame. In that moment between breath and air, he felt her presence everywhere. Not as memory, not as dream, but something real and warm and keen. She stood as she once did before, eyes gentle, wiser than before. No age, no illness, no divide, only love pure and wide. She took his hand, he felt no pain. Years of longing fell like rain. No words were said, none were needed. All that was broken now was mended. The world behind them faded thin. All loss dissolved, all fear grew dim. No throne, no crown, no past regret. Only a love that had not set. They walked not far, yet far beyond, a place built only for the bond, where time has no command or say, where love does not decay. At dawn they found him still and calm, a soft smile like resting psalm. No riches near, no royal sign, only peace deeply divine. The village spoke of him with grace, a man whose eyes held distant space. They never knew the life he bore, the love that made him more. Somewhere in hidden royal page, a line erased by careful age, spoke of a prince who disappeared, a scandal buried and feared. But truth does not require a throne. It lives in hearts. It walks alone. And love, though judged and pushed aside, still waits beyond the other side. If ever asked what made him great, it was not birth, nor crown, nor fate. It was the courage to love and lose, and still choose love again to choose. So ends the tale the world ignored, of hearts that power could not afford. A prince, a woman, time and pain, and love that chose no chain. Love knew no age, no rule, no end. It broke, then healed, then rose again. And in that truth, both lost and found, they rest where love is crowned. Long after their names had faded away, the world kept turning night to day. Cities rose and empires fell, but love left stories none could sell. In distant lands, a quiet myth passed softly mouth to mouth with breath, of a prince who walked away from throne for a love the world disowned. No statues carved, no songs made loud, no royal tears, no mourning crowd. Yet something lingered deep and true in hearts that felt but never knew. Young lovers sitting hand in hand by rivers wide or desert sand felt courage rise without a cause, as if touched by unseen laws. They did not know the source or name, yet felt less fear, less shame, as though some ancient vow had sworn that love once brave is never torn, as if the walls themselves recalled a truth once lived, then stalled. Scholars searched through dust and ink for facts that vanished on the brink. They found a gap, a missing thread, a prince unnamed, presumed dead. No wedding record, no marked grave, no proof of choice, no life he gave, only whispers scratched inside, by hands afraid yet dignified. Love is dangerous to control. It slips beyond the ledger's hole. It writes itself in human skin, not where power dares begin. A child once asked an elder wise, why some hearts burn and never die. The elder smiled with distant gaze, and spoke of love that shapes our days. Not all who rule are crowned in gold. Some rule by truth, both soft and bold. They change the world without a sword, by choosing love when none applaud. Somewhere beyond both time and breath, beyond the reach of life and death, two souls still walk in endless field, where nothing broken needs to heal. They do not speak of pain before, of choices hard or hearts once sore. Those things belong to human ground, where loss and fear are tightly bound. Here love is light without a cost. No age is gained, no youth is lost. No eyes look back with doubt or blame. No one recalls a royal name. Yet sometimes when the world feels near, they pause and listen, bending ear, for echoes of a human cry, for hearts afraid to choose or try. And in those moments something shifts, a sudden strength, a quiet lift, as if a promise gently said, you are not wrong to love, they led. So when a soul stands torn apart, between the crown and the heart, between the path the world demands and truth that bleeds through open hands. May this untold, forgotten tale become the unseen, steady sail that guides them through the storm of doubt and shows what love is all about. Not ownership, not fleeting fire, but chosen loss and deep desire. The will to break the golden chain and still walk free through joy and pain. History may refuse the truth. It favors order, blood, and youth. But love remembers every soul that dared to step beyond control. And somewhere deep in time unseen, that prince still walks what might have been, not as regret nor tragedy, but proof of human dignity. For once a heart chose not to bow and made its silent sacred vow that love alone would be the guide, no matter what the world denied. Thus ends the story, yet it stays alive in countless quiet ways, in every brave forbidden start, in every choice that guards the heart. Love knows no age, no throne, no name. It asks for all, it takes the blame. And though it leaves no written sign, it shapes the soul through endless time. Time does not end a story. It only hides it deeper. What was once lived in flesh returns as meaning. Generations passed like quiet footsteps, leaving prints no one could see. Yet the air still carried something warm, something unfinished. In a new age of glass and steel, where crowns became symbols, not commands, a young man walked the streets alone, feeling strangely out of place. He had everything the world admired: success, voice, charm, and choice.